Our Zone with Katlego Legodi, 12 to 3 a.m.
So you find us live at 5 minutes after 2 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the show. I'm hoping that you're well. I'm hoping that you're still good. Those that started this thing with us at midnight, really appreciate it. You find us in the last hour, burning the midnight oil still together here. But I'm joined in a moment by Golden Miles Budu. He's coming through here from Sapor and just to talk to us about these, developments, moves by the Department of Correctional Services, especially where food and the meals are concerned behind bars. So this morning we go into the last hour of the show with Golden Miles Budu. He's the founder and he also speaks for the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights. They go by SAPOR, the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights, coming through to help us look at the prisoners' meal plan. So we've seen the Department of Correctional Services coming through with various changes here to how food administered behind bars, but also what goes into some of these items, some of these food items that are being consumed by prisoners. So we saw them overhauling their 12-day meal cycle to try and meet their health standards here, incorporating also guidance here that would come through from experts in terms of having a balanced nutrition while behind bars. So we hear as well that there's a lot that has come through where this plan is concerned. The department having to dismiss rumors as well of food shortages and also even roping in nutrition experts to ensure that prisoners are fed a well-balanced meal. We are told we're looking at all of these developments with support and just look at what then become the rights of the prisoners and what could have been happening here that maybe you and I are not aware of. So support, they are within this space as the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights. They would know better, and this morning we're doing this with them. So you find us on 0861 987 000. There by X we go by at Power FM 987 at Katlego Legodi _ Golden Miles, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Katlego. Good morning, my brother, and good morning to fellow South Africans.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us your time this morning. I mean, there's a lot that we've seen happening, and it's not the first time that this year we hear talks around meals, around the plans behind bars here, but also we see the department saying that they're working to tighten measures to balance things out, but also to ensure that at the same time, whatever is being fed to the prisoners is in a healthy condition, balanced in line with what they'll be getting from these experts that they've since roped in, the nutrition experts.
There's no such thing. The Department of Correctional Services should have allowed the print broadcast, and electronic media to visit these institutions unannounced, uninvited, so that the media start to report what really is happening on the ground and not report what the media is told by these people. You see,
hence we have you here. I love the fact that, and we made a disclaimer to say you would be privy to some of these developments that some of us may not be aware of. What is happening?
Well, what they're telling everybody else, they've been doing it since time immemorial, post-1994. Talking to the community, telling them lies, and we who, in fact, has decided to tell the truth and nothing else but the truth has become enemies of individuals who are so powerful that they have gone so far to destroy our communication between ourselves and those behind bars who tell us the truth, whether they are correctional officers, whistleblowers, whether they are sentenced or unsentenced prisoners. And what is scandalous is that 31 years in a democracy, in the 21st century, in South Africa, a developed country on the continent is complaining, talking about food in prison, as if this country is like Somalia, Mogadishu, with people and children and women are dying of hunger and starvation. It's scandalous. And the other thing is,
what is happening? Because they are saying that whatever they're coming up with, this 12 cycle, and what we've seen them coming through with the changes would be what they get from the experts. So you're saying that is not the case. What is then happening? What is the case right now?
what experts? I mean, these people don't even have a clue what needs to be done to educate, train, give skills, rehabilitate, so that those who are in their care get released someday as law-abiding citizens. The experts you're talking about, who are these people? Because we've never seen and heard. All we know is that we get information from our members, supporters, followers, sympathizers, and admirers via the gadget. They call it a contraband cell phone. They send us pictures of food not even my chihuahua would be able to eat. And and society believe everything what the department says, because it's a department that is run by people who are all there by themselves, and whatever proper food, meat, groceries are sent to prison. There are a syndicate of correctional officers that steals these groceries and take it to their houses, so to minimize them buying groceries.
So are you saying that the food that is being fed to those that are behind bars is not in line with what would be required in terms of the nutritional requirements here? Because if you're saying that they're what experts, and the department is saying they're experts, that they've roped in here, so it does say that there's something that does not meet the eye. So do we have a shortage of food? Do we have food that is not adequate, that is being given to prisoners, or what is happening right now?
I mean, there are some sentenced and unsentenced prisoners who called in, open lines and speak from the horse's mouth. But still, there are people who are believing that what the department is telling you, broadcast, print, and electronic media, you believe what they're telling you of experts. People are dying in prison of medical negligence, not because they're suffering of terminal diseases. Then you come and tell me that they will feed these people proper food. What happens once upon a time, Busasa was roped in. And Busasa was roped in for the sake of milking, the Department of Correctional Services when it comes to nutrition. And we all know what happens thereafter. It's history. And these criminals are still roaming the corridors of the Department of Correctional Services. Please, my brother, don't get misled by these people who tells you guy all the time. Have Power FM or any other radio station requested that they will pay these institutions a surprise visit when breakfast is served, when lunch is served, and when suppers. You guys must start doing that and stop being quasi spokesperson of this department.
Yeah, but we have you here for that particular reason. It's not a matter of us actually also just deploying those resources and going on the ground. If the department is coming through to say that there's this that is happening, and we know that there are organizations that are working, at these spaces, so you become that person that tells us. Which is why my first question to you was that we are told that this is what is happening. You would have a better picture of what is happening because you are on the ground. Then you tell us what is happening. It's not a matter of saying Power FM, you guys should come on the ground and not. If you're saying that is not the case, and what the department is saying is not the case, then it's fine. Back it up with the fact that there are facts. There are people that are on the ground. There are people that are starving. And this is, if you go to Mangaung, you'd find that there are people that are starving. If you're going to, Polsmo, you'll find that there are people that are starving there. Then we can tend to understand you giving us a picture right now. Then speaking in general as to what is happening, where do we find these problems and these challenges?
Katlego, my brother, I've been released from prison 35 years ago. Why do you think they never once approached me from an organizational point of view, not personally, from an organizational point of view, and said, Miles, you served 6 years. You came out. It's now 35 years. Why don't you come and work with us as a collective so that the people, taxpayers, get the other side, not swallow me in, not concoct me and capture me and make me one of them. Why do you think they've never spoke with me, minister in, minister out, national commission? Look, this institution is an institution used, by politicians who, in fact, push the envelope, and there's no rehabilitation, there's no skills development. I mean, it's 35 years after my imprisonment. These are hellholes, and that is what it will remain.
Then what is your organization doing because if the department is not keen on having you as part of the team, you've started your own organization. What are you doing to highlight some of these issues?
There's not much I can do because everybody has walked away from those who end up in prison for the wrong or the right reasons. Until such time you end up there yourself and realize that these are not correctional facilities. These are hellholes worse than the previous apartheid Department of Prisons, my brother.
Then it does take away, if we are saying that we are sending people there, because we've had people as well saying that then we need to move away from calling them correctional facilities because it's not like what is happening there behind bars would be correcting whatever is happening. At the same time, when you see perpetrators then reoffending less than a month after they are released on parole, what becomes then the detriment? What becomes the shortcoming? What becomes what takes away from the prisoner? Because at the same time, we do have a prisoner that has to eat. We do have a prisoner that has to be rehabilitated. As we see all of these shortcomings from the department, as you call them, play out, what then does this do to the prisoner and the society in general? Because at the end of the day, these are the people that would have to be reintegrated into the society.
Katlego, many years ago, these institutions were run along the lines of an Afrikaner Volksstaatje, where the prison warder owes the infrastructure, the prisoner owes whatever moves, dogs, the cats there, the tractors, the land, the stock, and so on. And unfortunately, less than 30 years, these institutions were turned and are run nowadays as glorified Bantustans. It's about time that South Africa just go over the border to Burkina Faso and go and look what a young man has done within less than 2 years when it comes to their correctional facilities. A guy called Ibrahim Tayaro, what he has done, where these prisons are turned into industrial hubs where the prisoners feed themselves, they produce the food, and they are not a burden on taxpayers' monies. And by doing that, they come out law-abiding, useful, and productive citizens. Just around the corner here, they don't have to go to Australia or Canada or maybe to England. No, it's just around the corner here. But there isn't any political will to deal with what is happening, not only in our prisons, to deal with crime, to deal with violence, to deal with the judiciary. You end up in the Department of Correctional Services. Maybe because we are told we are stupid. When they talk to us as if we are their children, and they talk to us as if we're supposed to be afraid of them.
Yeah. Just a reminder to our listeners at home that we're in conversation with Golden Miles Budu, just looking at developments behind bars and what is happening there, especially around these, meals, right? And what we're seeing, the department saying it's working on here, and we see Golden Miles saying it's not what meets the eye in terms of what has been happening here, and it doesn't look like, all of these would come through to try by all means to, change the status quo or some of the issues that we see playing themselves, especially when we are talking rehabilitation and integration back into the society. So, there's a lot. I wanted you to tell me then, Golden Miles, about what we see as, some of the activities behind bars, because we know that some of the prisoners would do gardening, and we know that the food, some of them would, manufacture the very same food that goes into their meals. Do we see that as is it a program, a program that goes on behind each and every prison or correctional facility, or that is something that is isolated? Is this part of the bigger plan around rehabilitation, nutrition, and helping in terms of the food here? I wanted to understand that part, because I know that I don't know what the department called it. I think they called it some sort of a self-sufficiency project that they've started for inmates. But I know it has to do with them gardening and them more or less coming through with this food that often just go into their meals.
Look, sometimes ago, many years ago, we spoke about the industrialization of these institutions, because these institutions are just going to be there forever and ever, for as long as there are human beings on earth. To say, look, guys, don't you now want to use Google search and see what is happening in developed, civilized, and matured democracies, where you take out this thing of prisoners must eat and lay, eat and sleep, and become a burden to taxpayers. Don't you guys want to do? But these people are ignorant, man. I don't know what species do we get to go and work in these institutions. They are negligent. They don't care at them. What they are caring about is the month-end check. We should have by now worked on industrializing these institutions so that, stop calling them hotels and places of leisure. I mean, during the heydays of Ndlandlane, may his soul rest in peace, we wanted to work towards such a concept and end up, unionizing those who are working behind bars, so that whatever stipend they get, they pay for their stay, pay boarding and lodging, they pay for their medicine, they pay for their toiletry, they pay for their food, and then thereafter, out of that stipend they get, they put money away to put into a victims trust fund, so that the victims of crime and criminals must be compensated and reparated by the very same people who violated them whilst they are behind bars. We spoke about a family fund where when you end up in prison for the wrong or the right reason and you are productive, there is a grant that the family receive, met halfway by the Department of Social Development, to keep the fires burning whilst you serve your dues to the community, so that when you come out of prison, family reunification and reintegration is much. We spoke about this 50 years ago, long before this democracy of a government that hate black people took this country and dragged it where it is, into no man's land.
So do those programs, do they work or not? Do they exist behind bars at some of these correctional facilities? Do they come through to address some of the food shortages that we see? For instance, at the Durban Westville prison, there were issues around food shortages. Do those programs still exist?
It doesn't exist, my brother, because it was proposed by people like Abo Golden Miles Putu, who refused to be part of them. It doesn't work. It don't exist. And I'm very comfortable when I talk like this, because we get voice notes, we get WhatsApp texts, we get videos and photos of what is still happening in our prisons, whether they like it or not. They should have also by now had a system where they allow these things which they call a contraband. The other day, they've just lost a case and they were embarrassed of access to laptops for those prisoners who are registered students. Can you imagine? For 18 years, they are fighting off a gadget called a laptop for those who want to upgrade and lubricate their intellectual integrity. Look, the Department of Correctional Services don't need political will to fulfill their mandate. We need a political party. And I'm sure a political party would go in there and politicize that the Department of Correctional Services mandate must be fully implemented, monitored, evaluated, and if needs be enforced.
Yeah, and I wanted us to just maybe give our listeners an idea of what are some of these meals that they get behind bars, because there were just a lot of outcry around the changes in this 12-day meal cycle, and we hearing you saying that it's not the case. The department is saying that they're getting nutritionists to give them an idea of what should be or should go into this plan and these meals. Ordinarily, what is it that you would find behind bars? If we say they have meals, how many meals do they have in a day? Is it a breakfast, lunch, and supper? And do we see them maybe coming through with oats in the morning, and then we see them also getting maybe an apple and a banana in the day? How does it go?
Katlego, it's really amazing, my brother, that the information, when this topic started a few weeks ago, it's amazing that people never saw what we sent viral that comes from the belly of the beast, and we still have these photos of the horrible breakfast, horrible lunch, horrible supper that is being dished out to these human beings. It's just amazing, and maybe we must start a topic for the whole week so that we really go into the bottom of this thing of our meals. The meals just remain unbelievable.
What goes into breakfast? What goes into lunch? What goes into supper?
Rubbish. Just one simple word with big fat capital letters. Rubbish. I'm saying my chihuahua or my dog won't eat that food that they are feeding prisoners nowadays. It is as simple as that. And if they think that I am generalizing and I'm using terms that are unacceptable, they can go and charge us as an organization. We'll meet them in court.
Yeah, I want you to give our listeners an idea of this rubbish that you're talking about. Is it cabbage? Is it pap? What is it? Because it's a meal at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's one egg with slap pap. In Dengane, slap up. Have you ever heard with in Dengane? Is slap up with one egg. It's tea or coffee that looks like dirty water. I mean, it is the photos. It's a pity that I should have sent you the photos up front so that when I talk to you like this, you see these photos right in front of you of these meals, which as I said. My dog won't even eat it. Rice with a lot of water. Dombolo. I mean, come on, man. Please, I can't even describe the food that they're feeding our prisoners who are there to serve a sentence and should come out better citizens. It's bad, man. I don't have any description how this food looks like when. And it is not fake photos that has been tampered with. It is the real thing.
Yeah. Golden Miles, I want us to leave it here for this morning. It does say to us that we have a long way to go. If you're saying that is someone's reality every day who is behind bars and the gaps, it affects also even the rehabilitation process and the likes. It does say there's a long way to go, but we're always appreciative of people like you, an organization like yours that will give us a picture of what is happening behind bars, because some of us will just take it as we see a headline, the department saying that nutritionists have been roped in to help the department, but we tend to not understand how then widespread the challenge may be behind bars. But thank you very much, sir, for coming through and for giving us your time.
Thank you for your invite, my brother. Have a nice morning. Bye.
Really appreciate it. Golden Miles Budu coming through here from the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights, the founder, and he speaks for the organization as well. Not impressed by some of these developments behind bars, saying the Department of Correctional Services has to do better by those that are behind bars. Remember that the organization is the South African Prisoners Organization for Human Rights, looking at human rights of those that are behind bars, but really an outcry over this meal plan by the department. But the Department of Correctional Services dismissing rumors here of food shortages and saying to us that they've now roped in nutrition experts as well to ensure that prisoners are fed a well-balanced meal. Golden Miles saying they need to do better.